happiness, real happiness. I kind of look at the author, and his name was James Baraz, and he's a student of Vipassana meditation, not unlike John Welsh's, who we just did the book with, One Soul, One Heart, One Mind. And I was kind of wondering, I hope it's not going to be too much kind of the same material. So I do what I often do when I don't know what to do. I ask for help and guidance. Anybody here ever tried that? What a novel topic, right? And I just said, well, give me a sign that this should be the book we should be doing. And literally this book, this copy of the Workbook for A Course in Miracles, which is not my copy, it's the one that's on the shelf that was here before I got there. It's a relatively new book. Nothing's underlined in it except this page that opened up. Lesson 105. God's peace and joy are mine. I'm going to read to you. If Annette were here, she'd verify this. I'm not making this up. This was underlined. God's peace and joy are yours. Today we will accept them, knowing they belong to us. And we will try to understand these gifts increase as we receive them. Accept God's peace and joy, and you will learn a different way of looking at a gift. God's gift will never lessen when they're given away. They will but increase thereby. As heaven's peace and joy intensify when you accept them as God's gift to you, so does the joy of your Creator grow when you accept His joy and peace as yours. True giving is creation. And then it said this, think of your enemies a little while, I know you have them in this room, and tell each one of them as it occurs to you, my brother, and I add my sister, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. And then it says, you must succeed today. If you prepare your mind as we suggest, for you have let all bars to peace and joy be lifted up, and what is yours can come to you at last. So tell yourself this, God's peace and joy are mine today. My brothers, my sisters, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. That was pretty convincing that joy was a good topic, yes? And if that wasn't enough, I go home and I'm on Netflix, and you know what Netflix, they have this thing where if there's a bunch of films that you've looked at that's kind of like the ones you've seen, they suggest other ones to you for live streaming. And one they recommended to me was an old movie with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro called Awakenings. And I went, oh my God, here it is again. Do you remember the story? There are these people that are in this catatonic state. They're frozen and locked in position. They can't move. Some of them have not moved from this frozen state of consciousness for 20 and 30 and 40 years. They've been locked, encapsulated inside of themselves. And there's one man, a man named Dr. Sayer, acting in the movie, in the true story, as a Christ, a Buddha, a Paramahansa Yogananda, a Dalai Lama, a Thich Nhat Hanh, who says, I know there's life in you. There's life, I know there is. And he goes about discovering ways to help them wake up. And the way he does it, he gets the drug L-dopamine. And he gives it to them, and they're free from their constricted, reactive, contracted place in consciousness. Our L-dopamine in this room are the teachings, the spiritual practices that we engage in all the time here at this ministry. They help us to wake up to who we are. And there's an amazing scene in the movie where Leonard, who's the first one to receive the awakening, is sitting there in front of the TV camera, and it zooms in on him. And now he's not moved, not had any movement at all for 30 years. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And he says, hello, my name is Leonard. I've been asleep for a long, long, long time. But now I'm awake, and I'm so glad to be here. Do you feel that? Just to be alive and awake. And then he goes walking in the streets of the city in 1967 as a new creature in Christ. His innocence, his heart, his body, his soul, his mind is seeing things the way you and I hardly ever see. He's hearing what we've forgotten to listen to. He's smelling things that we don't smell. He's a new being, and he's just
filled with the joy of just being alive and present today. And then he goes back to the institution and he opens up the newspaper to all the headlines of the disasters that were going on in 1967. My friends, no different than what's going on today. Do you remember? It was the Vietnam War. There were protests, there were riots. The economy was tanking. We had triple and quadruple inflation at that time. All the reasons not to be enjoyed were present then, as they are now, as they will be tomorrow. And he said, what is this to thee? Come thou follow me. Be in joy. A joy that's welling up from inside of you. That's what you and I are going to tap into as we move forward with Awakening to Joy. 10 steps that will put you on the road to real happiness. Now this book is a hardbound. It's so new, the material in this book form, we couldn't get softbound. Doesn't matter whether you buy it or not. I'm going to spend the next 7 to 10 weeks going over it on Sunday and Wednesday. We invite you to partake in becoming a part of this. So when we think about joy, he says in the book, there's one joy that comes in many different flavors. 27 flavors and varieties. Joy is expressed and experienced by each person in their own particular way. He says in this point, number 2 of my lesson summation, joy comes in many different flavors and differs from person to person. It can be a quiet sense of contentment to bubbling enthusiasm. For some people, it's an energetic radiance. For others, it's a quiet feeling of connection. Joy can arise, as in your poem, as a belly laugh, or as a serenely contented smile that accepts life just as it is, feels present where it is. Your sense and your way of experiencing joy will be your own unique way. I was listening to an interview with Jennifer Aniston, that famous actress, and it was on Actors Studio. And somebody said to her, one of the actors, what is it about you? You just seem joyous and happy. What is that with you? She goes, you know what? I've always felt from the time I was little, silly and happy. It's always been there. Right there. I've always just felt it. I haven't had to work at it. And when life would pile things on top of me and things would feel bad or they weren't going my way, that joy and that playfulness and that silliness were always there. And it hasn't left me since. And even if I wasn't an actress, I'd always have connection to that. That's her flavor of joy. So in this series, you will discover what your joyful flavor is, the way to awaken it within yourself. And it'll have something to do with rewiring the very synapses of your brain to be able to perceive things differently. For when you see the world differently inside of you, the world outside immediately changes. I pulled out this study, I've shared it with you before. It says Buddhists are actually happier. No, really, it's scientifically proven that they're calmer and more serene than most people, at least according to the research conducted by a set of scientists using sophisticated brain scanners. Neuroscientists showed that certain parts of the brain associated with positive mood states light up constantly in Buddhist meditators. Research conducted by 15 different places linked this positive move from energy from the back of the brain to the prefrontal lobes as connecting them to positive mood states. Experienced meditators, he found, were less likely to be shocked, flustered, surprised, or angry. Would anybody here like to be less shocked, flustered, surprised, and angry? I'm going to vote for that one. There is something about a conscientious practice, and I would add any kind of spiritual practice that results in the kind of happiness that we're all seeking. And it's a shift in the way we perceive the world. A shift from fight or flight to the prefrontal lobes. We begin to see more oneness everywhere we go. And excuses then for joy begins to bubble up inside of us spontaneously. We begin to feel that this is a hide-and-seek game with God. And everywhere you go, the beloved is saying, peekaboo, I see you. Do you see me? Hello, God is here now. It's not going to get any better than this. This is your life. That's the man with the camera. I almost ate in front of the camera. This is the work that we're doing here when we connect with the joy that we are. Now you might say, you know what? I am not really a joyous person, and I don't want to do the joy thing, and I want to go back to suffering, or whatever it is you love. But I'm not into the joy thing, just something makes me feel a little bit nauseous, okay? And here's a little reading about that with somebody who was taking the course before it became a book. It says, you know, I'm having a reaction to this Awakening to Joy title of this course. All this talk of well-being and joy seems so disconnected from what's going on in the world. It's like we're all sitting around safe and comfortable and secure singing, "Someone's crying, Lord, kumbaya." They dubbed it, this roadblock to joy, the kumbaya effect. And by the way, people who talk about unity, they say, you people are all Pollyannas. You know, get on with it, man. Life is bad. Things are going down too. Stay connected to those bad things. And what do you get? Bibbly bobbly boo. Boo boo, boo boo. Focusing only on the terrible things in the world and overlooking the beauty and goodness can lead us to pull back from life and fall into despair. Staying in touch with the wellspring of joy enables us to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. It can motivate us and support us in making positive differences in our lives and in the world, not only through the actions that we might choose, but also through the uplifting effect we can have on the people that we contact. So we're going to look for a definition of joy that works for us. And if you don't like the word joy or happiness, substitute aliveness and connectedness and oneness. It doesn't matter. Here's the particular definition he uses in the book. Joy is a general feeling of aliveness and well-being that is characterized by meeting life's ups and downs with authenticity and perspective. Capiche? Can you go with that one? Can you go with that? Joy is a general feeling of aliveness and well-being that is characterized by meeting life's ups and downs with authenticity and perspective. The Buddhists say that there are 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows that arise and fall in this world of appearances. We're not pretending those things aren't here. But oftentimes we spend so much time focusing on the 10,000 sorrows, there's no joy left for us to experience the life we're having now. So we need to have a training that allows us to make that shift. Not so external circumstances will be different, but so we can be eternally connected to the 10,000 joys that walk hand in hand with the 10,000 sorrows. So we can feel things more fully. Since I've been on the path, I don't suffer less because of what I see. I have more compassion for myself and others when I get in that reactive, contracted place and I shut down in my life. I awaken myself more quickly to, wait a minute, there can be joy even in this. Peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy is mine. Had a direct experience of that. As I told you, we went and visited a couple of weeks ago. My mother in Florida, Tara, Rhoda in Naples. And remember, we told her that, she said, well, you're coming on Monday, you're not going to be late again. You were late last year. You know, we wanted to have that. We do 4 o'clock, we have cocktails, and then we eat at 6. And it's a prescribed way everything works. You're not going to be late this year, are you? I said, no, Mom, I won't be late, I promise. And so we're on our way. We left on Sunday. We went to a hotel room in Savannah. And then we woke up in the morning. We were making really good time. We were making our way to Naples. And we were actually ahead of ourselves. And we ended up pulling off at this exit and went and got gas. And then went into the 7-Eleven or whatever it was, convenience store, got a cup of coffee, and came out. And as we walked outside, there was a low-flying helicopter flying above, right above our heads. And it was low. The helicopter was flying really low over our heads. And Maureen immediately went, there is something seriously wrong here. Something is not right. The reptilian brain fired fight or flight. Get out of here. And I said, well, there's a police officer standing right over there in between 2 pillars in the gasoline pump with an AK-47 pointing at the Burger King right across the street. And within seconds, there were 35 assault rifle people with shields on and AK-47s, and they're all charging into the Burger King. I mean, it was pretty amazing. And I'm telling you, I felt everything anybody would feel. Like, there's going to be a war here, and I'm standing right in the middle of the parking lot, and I hope they don't kill my car because it's so sweet. I just waxed it from my mother. My God, what's going on? And we were told to get in the IHOP and stay in there. And so we were there. And a part of us went, well, for some reason, at this moment in time, we were called to be here. What would God's intention be for me now? Right here in this moment. And we got the story. It turned out moments ago while we were in the convenience store, a boyfriend came into the Burger King, ordered something and shot his girlfriend dead, jumped over the counter and shot her 5 more times and ran off into the woods. I asked myself, why are we here? Well, we're here to be truly helpful. I had all the feelings that anybody would have in that kind of crazy situation. You have your own crazy situation. Yeah, that's going on in your life right now. I felt it. It was all there. But something else, almost instantaneously, other neural pathways were firing, and they were saying, how can I be of service here in this moment? And a couple of the women came out from Burger King who had just experienced that. Awful, terrible, tragedy. Maureen grabbed them and hugged them. And I was saying, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. It was there. It was the instantaneous blessing that followed the 10,000 sorrows that brought the moment forward to joy, to oneness, to wholeness, to taking on our assignment. And at that point, we didn't know that the killer had been caught. We could have been the next victim. You know, he had a gun. He could have killed everybody there. We didn't know any of that. And yet it didn't matter. Once we were called forward to blessing and oneness, that became our assignment. And then the great gratitude for the emergency workers who, when our life is at its worst, they're at their best. And they show up and they know exactly what to do. And they do it. They're not tricked by the craziness of the 10,000 sorrows. They just get busy and do what is theirs to do. Praise God for the emergency workers in our life, yes? Who show up when we're in disasters and know what to do. So there was this blessing that was happening right before our eyes. And then I called my mother on the phone. I said, Mom, I'm going to be late, but I got a good excuse. There's been a murder at Burger King. She goes, take your time, don't rush. And for the rest of the drive, for the next 6 hours, we just continue doing prayers for all those people who we thought about whose lives would be changed and transformed forever. They would never be the same again. And we thought about them for several days afterwards. And of course, there was a part of me, he's like, I could help out, but you know, I might have to get my t-shirt on and get one of them AK-47s and be like Rambo to go running across the street. I had that thought. I'm sorry, I'm a male. I thought that later on, by the way, when I wasn't freaked out. You know, when I was freaked out, believe me, I was shaking. But when I thought later on, well, they could have had me. I would look good in that outfit. Hey, you, get over there! My never-ending story of me, myself, and I, my tremendously huge ego. Thank God, God's using me for a blessing now rather than for the other purpose, which my mind always finds excuses to go to. So this is our work. This is what we're here for. We're making a shift in consciousness. It doesn't mean you won't be part of showing up in tragic, difficult situations. Everybody has them who's here. You'll be called upon to allow yourself to see things differently. And when you see things differently, the world you see changes. And in this book, he calls it inclining your mind towards joy. That the thoughts that we think and ponder create an inclination of the mind. A pathway that's opened up, that produces after its kind. So you and I will, for the next 10 weeks, be inclining our mind towards joy. Looking for moments when we're in joy. When I'm not in my head, there's much more to be joyous about than fearful about. Mostly, things are going pretty well, but we miss the joyous moments because we're so worried about what's going on in our minds. If we just can be present in the moment, we'll see there's joy here. There's the presence of a great life here. I don't want to miss it anymore. I want to stay awake to the truth of being that sets us all free. inclining our mind towards joy. All of our spiritual practices are involved with this, and we need help with it. One more quote in the book that I really love that I want to share with you. It says, building up a storehouse of positive experiences. This is what we'll be doing. We've been doing this all along. To help us survive, the brain has evolved to register negative experiences more readily than positive ones. A single bad event with a dog stands out more vividly than 1,000 good ones. The brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and like Teflon for positive ones. I love that. You hear me now? The price of the book was worth this right here. The brain for negative experiences is like Velcro. Things stick to us. Positive experiences flow off. What is that quote? Dig this man. I forgot what the thing was called. I can't read it. A little pear-shaped, almond-shaped bunch of neurons in the center of the brain plays a big role in storing emotional memories, and it's primed to look for bad news. Because we're set up this way, we can go through life doing things that confirm our worst fears. What does the Bible say? The thing I fear worst has come upon me. It sticks to us. We look for what's negative in situations, just in case it's a survival threat. Because our brain is set up to be weary, we have to help ourselves towards happiness by inclining our attention to positive experiences, by consciously intending to do so. You're doing that here in these teachings. Through conscious attention, you can generally build up and gradually build up a storehouse of positive experiences to neutralize negative ones. The most powerful method I know is to deliberately look for positive experiences and take them in by being present with them. You might want to find the Unity Church of your neighborhood that will help you do this. This will help the brain register positive experiences long enough for those neurons to begin to fire together so you become a channel for something other than fear, guilt, shame, and blame. And that's what we're here for. We're anchoring the kingdom of heaven on earth in joy, which is happening right here and now, but it will not happen any other way except through you and I being its voice, its heart, and its messenger in this world of appearances. Amen to that one, yes? So let's take a look now at the lesson summation, which I know you'll use this week. My brother, my sisters, peace and joy I offer you, that I may have God's peace and joy as mine. Joy is a general feeling of aliveness and well-being that is characterized by meeting the ups and downs, the 10,000 joys and sorrows of your life, with authenticity and perspective, and balance, equanimity, the Buddhists call it. The peace of God, they call it in the Course in Miracles. Joy comes in many different flavors and differs from person to person. It can be a quiet sense of contentment, a bubbling enthusiasm. For some people, it's an energetic radiance, and for others, it's a quiet feeling of connection. Joy can arise as a good belly laugh, or a serenely contented smile that accepts life just as it is. So remember this week, the brain is wired like Velcro for negative experiences. So many of them got placed there when you were young. And like Teflon for positive ones. Through conscious attention, we will gradually build up a storehouse of positive experiences to neutralize the negative ones. Not to get rid of them, but to create new neural pathways so we can begin to see things differently. Above all else, I want to see things differently. So the camera every day, it's zooming in on you, Philip, on you, Celestial, on you, Amy, zeroing in. And you can look into the camera, the lens of your life, and you can say, my name is Richard Levy, Philip Pennington, Celestial Pennington. I've been asleep for a long time, but now I'm waking up. And I'm so grateful to be awake and alive today. Don't miss the life you're living. It's what you're here for. Allow it to move through you, breathe through you, and live through you. The time it takes to awaken is shorter by far than the time it's taken us to fix our mind on delusions. Keep inclining your mind towards joy, and more joy will flow through you, and it will become the gift that you'll then leave as a pathway for others to follow. Do this not just for yourself, the benefit of all beings everywhere. Blessed be. Thank you.